All right, y'all. So we're starting to get towards the tail end of 2024, right? And, I've had a ton of fun on this channel. I hope you guys have enjoyed the content this year. And, as always, I'm always trying to find new chess openings to try out, new chess openings to work on, to try to find some opening novelties, to try to find those rare lines and variations that not a lot of people know about, but that can bring out great results, okay? And in this video, I'm going to be sharing my top 5 openings for black this year. This is my top 5. These are the openings that I've enjoyed the most. That's what I mean by that. And, they've gotten me great results, and I think they can get you great results as well. And we'll get into that. But first off, we're playing black here, right? We see the move e4. I've really started to like the Nimzowitsch Defense with the move of knight c6, okay? And against d4, we're now playing e5. Now, sure, white didn't have to play d4. White here could play a move like knight f3, and that's something that the Nimzowitsch Defense Kennedy Variation player needs to figure out. Okay, if white does play the move knight f3, we're now in a Scotch game. How do we respond against that, right? That's something that we got to figure out. Going a couple moves back, if white plays knight f3 now, there's some different options that we have, right? We can go for a Williams. We can go for a move like f5 there. I mean, absolutely crazy line for black. Going into the Colorado counter gambit. I haven't studied this too much yet. Let me know if you want to see a video on that. It is surprisingly sound, meaning that, maybe it's not sound in and of itself, but if you compare it to other gambits, it's actually not the worst gambit I've seen. So, I've played it a little bit, haven't studied it much. Let me know if you want to see a video on that. But yeah, there's options there is what I'm trying to say, right? Following the move knight c6. But in most games I see d4. I play e5 going into the Kennedy variation. And in 60% of online games, I'm not talking about my games. Honestly, it feels like more than 60 much of the time. But when you look at online chess, when you look at the Elite Chess database, 60% of games white will push. Now, let's say white captures on e5. I like the move d6 personally, okay? Offering up a second pawn, we capture back with the bishop. We're down a pawn, but we have some nice development here. We're going to be playing moves like queen e7, knight f6, maybe pinning a knight on f3 if white ever plays that, castling queenside, eyeing up that queen with our rook. And this just leads to a really fun attacking game for black going forward. But again, 60% of online games, white plays d5, and I love this for black. What are we doing here? We're looking to bring this knight to g6 as fast as we possibly can. And I've had multiple titled players, right? I'm talking very high elo players play f4 against me online. And after knight g6, we're just objectively better now. We're just better, okay? Whether you take or you push, both of those are mistakes, very common mistakes here, even at the titled level, because we have this move of queen h4, okay? That's why that's a mistake. Queen h4, you can play g3, but then we take the pawn, thanks for the rook. You could play king e2, but then we capture with check. And if king d2, hey, go ahead, take our knight, right? We have knight takes e4. And yeah, I mean, it just turns out that white here is in a ton of trouble. I do have a video covering this line as well as other Nimzowitsch Defense Kennedy Variation content. And I'll leave a link to the content that I've made on some of these videos down below in the description. But yeah, I mean, if white doesn't play f4, which is a big mistake, okay, it's not strong. It looks scary, but it's not. And we see a move like c4. Okay, c4. This is the most popular move online. Knight c3. This is the most popular move. I'm showing you the most played moves from white. Okay, you see this kind of stuff all the time. We can play a5 there. a6 is also an option, but a5 is nice because you get a little bit more coverage on b4. And the point there is that we don't want our bishop to get trapped, right? If white castles, we'll castle too. We can now play a move like d6. Our bishop has room to run if it needs to. And, I mean, let's say, white plays something like rook b1. Bishop g5 is the most popular move there. But let's say we see something like rook b1. We can play knight h5. And the whole idea here is that we're really gunning for that f4 spot with both of our knights. I mean, this is a ton of fun. Great attacking chances here. If g3, you're weakening your light squares. And I've had multiple players try this idea against me of going, you know what, I'm going to sack my piece for a pawn and then win a full piece. And sure, right now, white is up, right? They are up a pawn and material, but the bishop's hanging. So we can just take it, or even better, play bishop g4, force a queen trade, and then capture on d3, right? This is just a great game for us. And yeah, bishop g5, okay, sure, fine, right? We can't play knight h5, but We can play h6, try to kick that bishop around. If white wants to take, queen captures back, that's great for us. f4 is becoming more and more of a weakness for the white side. And if bishop e3, white going, you know what, and by the way, that is the most popular, white going, you know what, okay, I shouldn't have played that, I'm just going to go back. In this case, we can play b6, okay? White can capture, that's fine. We're going to take towards the center, knight b5, again, the most popular move. And now after bishop g4, I mean, we just have a great game here, okay? You know, I mean, for example, let's say white slips up and they play a move like h3. We can play bishop h5, right? Keep the pressure there. We have so much tension on this side of the board, so many possibilities in terms of our knight play. And if g4 here, that's a big mistake because we're going to sack a piece for 2 pawns. We have a great pin there. You know, let's say you try to slow that pin down a little bit, knight f4, and Stockfish has black completely winning this position. So again, e4, I'm a big fan of the Nimzowitsch Defense Kennedy Variation with e5. And against d5 there, get that knight over to g6 as fast as you possibly can. Get your bishop activated, whether that's c5 preferably, or, you know, if white takes that away, fine, b4. And yeah, I mean, there's just so many rich ideas there. I encourage you guys to give it a shot and let me know what you think. Another opening, number 2, by the way, these are in no order. Okay, I'm just sharing 5 openings that I enjoy. Another one I've really enjoyed is d6. Okay, going into the Pirc defense, but then a Czech Pirc defense with the move of c6. Okay, so even by playing the Pirc defense, you're playing an opening your opponent probably doesn't see that often. And then on top of that, you're not even playing the main line. You're playing c6. Right, so I've heard this called, you know, I've heard c6 called a sideline of a sideline. I've heard that. c6 is sound, it's strong. You know, a couple players that come to mind are Varouj Nakobian and Grandmaster Zbigniew, both of which have had great success with the Czech Pirc. And yeah, I cover them, you know, I cover some of their games in my course. Over 6 hours of content on the Czech Pirc this month, in the month of September. Since we just launched the course, I'm giving out a 30% discount code. So all you got to do, go down to the description below, click that link. That's going to send you to Gumroad, which is where my courses are. And then you're going to plug in the discount code Czech Pirc 2024, and you will receive 30% off of the Czech Pirc Defense course. Okay, again, only valid until the end of this month. If you guys do get it, I hope that you enjoy it a ton. I put a lot of work into it. And yeah, I think the Czech Pirc deserves more recognition and, you know, more play than it gets. I mean, this is a dangerous weapon, guys. If you study, if you get this course, you put the work in, you study the lines, the variations, you look at the Master and Grandmaster games, you work on your weaknesses, all that kind of stuff, you're going to be getting positions that your opponent has never seen before, and it's going to be your 1,000th time doing it, which means more good results for you. Now, with the move c6, I mean, knight f3, very popular online. We can play bishop g4, okay? I think a lot of people, when they see the Czech Pirc, they automatically just think, you know what, okay, c6, queen a5. Queen a5 can be a good move. I mean, for example, if we see something like f4, queen a5 is great because we're pinning that knight, and we're really looking to help prep e5, which is very important when you see pawns on f4 and d4, right? You're trying to break those open, and once that pawn on d4 falls, guess what? You have a very nice open diagonal all the way down to g1. But against knight f3, I like playing bishop g4 and going for a preferred French, an improved French defense. Okay, now that might sound weird, but it's a very strong idea, right? Multiple GMs have played this out, and we cover it at length in the Czech Pirc Defense course. Now, let's say white plays a move like bishop e2. I'm a big fan of e6, bishop e7, just playing quietly. If h3, look, I'm just going to bring the bishop back. And after something like bishop e3, let's play d5. Right, let's put pressure on that pawn. Now, as we talk about in the course, when white captures here, we're going to take back. One of those main reasons that we look at is that c6 opens up for our knight. So taking towards the center is the general rule of thumb, but there's so many games, guys, where white just pushes to e5. White's just kind of playing normal, right? They're playing normal, solid chess. It kind of reminds me of the hippo in a lot of ways. Your opponent is just playing solid, standard chess, not doing really anything wrong, but then all of a sudden they go, wait a second, this isn't so fun anymore, right? We have a French defense advanced variation type setup with c5. Here's why it's a preferred French. Number one, there's no pawn on c3. There's a knight there, right? When we played the Czech Pirc, when we played d6, knight f6, we saw the move of knight c3. We played c6 there. There's a knight there. So then when they go into that advanced variation, it's going to be hard for white to just push a pawn, right? It's going to be hard for them there. So this is an advantage because this pawn doesn't have a pawn supporting it. And when we capture, a pawn's not going to capture back, which means e5 is going to get even weaker. And if white wants to take, fine, knight c6, right? Both of these pawns are very weak. Let's say something like knight b5 happens. Let's take the knight. Let's capture that knight off. We can take on e5 and c5. We got double pawns here, and c5 is in our territory. And we have a lot of pressure on it, a centralized knight. And if you look at central pawns on the E and D files, we have 2, white has 0. This is great for us, okay? Nice advantage that black just earned here, okay? So, again, you got to play, move like d6. You could play c6 and then d6, but, the general move order is playing the Pirc and then playing the Czech Pirc to c6, right? The 3 purposes of this being c6 number 1, in no particular order. You are, neutralizing the activity of that knight. Number 2, you're helping prep potential moves like d5 and b5. And finally, you're giving that queen some very important options of moves like queen b6 and queen a5, which, again, over 6 hours in the course, we covered those in length. Okay, huge fan of the Czech Pirc. Another opening that I've been having fun with in faster time controls is the Scandinavian Defense. And this is more of a throwback to my childhood days because I played the move of d5 and then I played knight f6, which is the modern variation of the Scandi. And I love this for black. Okay, there's a lot of fun stuff that can happen here. Really, no matter what white does. I mean, even if white plays d4, we could offer up another pawn and try to get that edge in development and attacking chances. If c4... okay, good job. You held on to your pawn, but now we play c6. We're looking to capture back, and I'm not impressed by white taking on c6 there. I don't think that's a great idea, okay, because we're going to capture back with our knight, and guess what? d4 is very weak. If you push your pawn there, we're just going to take, and if you play knight f3 trying to pull that move off, we're not going to let you do it. We're going to play e5, and what often happens to white is they have a pawn on d3 that is backwards, awkward, and a huge target for us. We're playing bishop f5. Here the engine likes bishop b4 check. If the bishop blocks, now we'll come back. We're actually happy the bishop is there. That means 1 less defender on d3. And if something like bishop e3 here, fine. We can take, play a move like queen b6, right? You can keep piling up on d3. You could also look towards, in this case, pawns like e3 and b2. And if you try to hold on, rook d8, I mean, just look at the edge in activity, development, attacking chances. I mean, d3 is very weak. We're eyeing up that queen, attacking that pawn with the bishop as well. The knight and the queen are hunkering down on e3 there, and yeah, white here is just not going to be able to hold on to the material. They're not going to be able to hold on to equality. So that's our third opening. Number 4, again, in no particular order, against d4, e5. Now, this is the England Gambit, but once white captures back, we're playing d6 going into the Charlick Gambit. And yeah, I have partnered with one of my private chess students. By the way, if you're interested in private lessons, I'll leave a link to that down below as well. But yeah, one of my private chess students and now friends, Russ Southern, who, we've worked pretty hard, and we're coming out with a chessable course in 2025 is probably when it's going to release. So that's what we're aiming for. We're excited about that, and we put a lot of work into it. Okay, what are we doing here? A lot of people know about the England, not a lot of people know about the Charlick, right? And if white captures, by the way, if they don't, we still have game plans there, but if they do, we take back with the bishop. We're going to rapidly develop and try to castle queenside here so that our rook eyes up that queen. For example, we can play knight c6. We can play queen e7. We can throw a knight out. We can pin the knight, right? There's different move orders that we can go with there, but overall, we're really trying to develop our pieces quickly, and now we're castling queenside. Now, here's the thing. Look, if you just make a move or something, guess what? We're taking the queen, right? Thanks for the queen there. We capture on d1. Bishop captures back. We're winning. Going back to castling queenside, let's say white sees this, and they play a move like bishop d2. By the way, knight d4 is the best option from white in that case. There's a number of different things that we can think about, but the engine move being capturing on e2. But, the thing with the Charlick, it's very common for opponents to misplay it because they just don't know what the heck it is, right? And they haven't studied for it. So, it's very easy for white to fall into trouble. And let's say they do play a move like bishop d2, right? Sure, they don't lose their queen. But now we see something here like h5 from black. And if white tries to kick our bishop, we're actually not even worried if they take because our rook would become a monster. But we're still going to take on f3, play queen e5, threaten a mate on h2. And if something like g3, let's go after the pawn. I mean, the Charlick Gambit, tons of traps, right? Tons of traps, tons of attacking chances as well that are a ton of fun. And yeah, it's just a great chess opening option for black overall. Now, it's not sound, right? If we're talking about, you know, playing against Magnus Carlsen or trying to earn an IM norm or something like that, but in terms of, you know, the club level, in terms of speed chess, in terms of all that kind of stuff, it is a ton of fun. It is a ton of fun. And I could see even club level players falling into trouble against it if the black player knows what to do. Okay, I recently had, someone respond to my Hikaru Nakamura's favorite chess opening for black video, and this user commented about how he only does it for content and he would never play it in a serious game, blah, 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 blah. Sure, I guess. I mean, Hikaru Nakamura, we never seen him, you know, play the hippo, you know, in a candidates match or anything like that. But guys, we're talking about the top 10, 12 players in the world. I mean, that's really what you're only going to look at openings that the top 10 or 12 players in the world play. Because if you do that, guess what? Your opponent's going to know everything you're about to do. And you're not going to have any advantage coming out of the opening. I don't know about you. I like having an advantage out of the opening. I like playing something rare. I like getting that advantage in prep. And that's why I've been playing all this crazy stuff, right? The Nimzowitsch Defense Kennedy Variation. The Czech Pirc, very strong option. I honestly think it's very underrated. It should be played more. We had the Charlick, all this other stuff, right? So that's where I'm at. And for number 5, again, in no particular order, y'all thought I forgot, huh? The Hippopotamus Defense. It's always making the list, okay? What we're doing here, 1, 2, and 3. That's how I usually start this thing off. What we're doing here is we're just trying to get a setup. Do whatever the heck you want. I'm looking to fianchetto both my bishops, and I'm looking to tuck my knights in the center of the board. And then from here is our breathing moment where we think about, okay, what do we do? In this case, let's look at the pawns. The pawn on d4, 4 defenders on it. The pawn on e4, only 1. Let's play move like knight f6, start attacking that pawn. If white wants to push, go ahead. We'll reroute to the very strong d5 square. If you try to attack our knight, we can take. And don't forget, in the hippo, the bishops are snipers, and we can now play move like castling kingside. And yeah, I mean, here black, with a very solid game, a move like knight f5 could come into play as well, because when you push pawns, you are by definition weakening certain squares. And yeah, I mean, the hippo is what got me to the National Master title. I played nothing but the hippo to reach 2200 USCF, and yeah, that's how I earned the National Master title, playing it as both white and black. So, you know, I think it works. I also have a course on that's over 6 hours in length, and yeah, I'll leave a link to that course as well down below if you're interested in playing the hippo, getting out of theory. And that's the great thing about, you know, something like the Hippopotamus Defense. Most of the time, we don't care what our opponent does, right? We're getting our setup, we're going from there, and because of that, we have so many games under our belt in those types of positions. Our opponent, on the other hand, it might be the first time they ever see it, second time, even if it's the 5th time they've played you. I mean, you have that advantage, right? You've been studying it for hundreds of hours. You've been playing it for hundreds of hours. And same goes with the Czech Pirc. Right now, with the Czech Pirc, we do need some cooperation in terms of what's played. But again, it's not like it's that rare for white to play e4. It's not like it's that rare for white to play d4. And it's not like it's that rare for white to play knight c3. The moment you see that, okay, c6, we're in the Czech Pirc, right? Now, there's other openings, like, for example, the move of c4. If you want to play b5 with the Danish Gambit, okay, c4, you don't see this all the time, right? And that's also a pretty crazy move. A fun move, I'll add, but a pretty crazy one. But, you know, there's certain openings overall that, okay, you're not going to get them that much. And then there's other openings where, like the Czech Pirc or the hippo, you can get them all the time, right? And you can play both of those from either side, that same kind of setup. So hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what your top chess openings for black were in 2024. What did you enjoy the most, right? What did you play with good success, and what do you recommend other people try out? Thanks for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I wanted to give a big shout out to my Patreon supporters for the month of September in 2024. I appreciate y'all a ton. It's been great getting to know you guys. And for those of you that haven't thought about joining the Patreon, there's some exclusive benefits that you gain by becoming a member. And yeah, I mean, if you guys do join, I'm excited to start talking to you guys over on the platform. On top of that, guys, here's the thing. Look, it's September, okay? It's September. There's only so much time left to get that Czech Pirc Defense course. Click the link. Click the freaking link. Plug in the discount code. Get your 30% off. Only good until the end of the month. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Let's get it.